info, it's leginfo .ca like California, .gov like government. Right. And you don't even need to put AB. If you just type the numbers of the bill, any bill with that number will come up and you'll be able to see which one you want.
All right. Let's take this opportunity to move on to LED. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, right here. Thank you. I'm sorry?
Hold it up like this. Okay, my name is Pam Sebastian, and I apologize if I'm very behind the 8 ball on what the whole legislation has been, but the interesting thing is I've been a massage therapist for 30 years, and the same kind of thing, as a massage profession, we've gone through the same thing. So be patient, because literally I remember having a meeting in my house with like about 6 people more than 20 years ago. Not that it should take that long or would take that long, but some of the things that we did, who will be still alive by then, I don't know. But things mutated over the course of time, and we did a job survey so that we could get the opinions of all the massage therapists that it was going to impact. You know, we're not licensed in California the way estheticians are, where it's a certification, and so there became a voluntary certification, national certification, et cetera. There are lots of different ways of doing it, and just stay creative, keep communicating. It would be nice, though, if there was some kind of request for information, and I know all that costs money, which is why we do need to raise money even to be able to find out what the opinion is of everybody, but I don't know if enough estheticians even know that all this stuff is going on. And I mean, I'm pretty savvy, but I didn't even know that some of this stuff was going on until very, very recently, like a week or 2 ago. But really be patient and just get feedback, and realize it's not about making one group exclusive and the other not. I mean, we even have had people who, if you took the test and you passed the test, even if you weren't necessarily qualified, you could still do it. And it's just about how we represent ourselves as professionals with our, clients and communities. So it doesn't even matter if Susie's doing it, she passed the test and she's allowed to, but, you don't think she should be. Anyway, just feedback. I don't know if you guys have talked to, obviously ABMP or the people who have gone through the whole massage process with that.
It has to be driven by us. I mean,
yeah. But there are parallels, and so it might be good to just get some feedback about how the process went.
Well, no, that's going to be on this room. You know what I mean? It's this room getting that going, because the board can be, they can't start their own legislation about that necessarily. They can be supportive of it, but it'll be up to us to get it going. Yeah.
Go ahead, please stand up.
On that note, Elise Schulte-Hassler, I know many massage therapists, but I know that through that process, you all got together and voluntarily had a national certification, and then once certain boards looked at that, they said, okay, this meets all our standards, we will adopt this and recognize it. As a working esthetician, mother, and now I'm lucky enough to travel and educate also in other states, so I'm able to compare what they can and cannot do. It's hard to unite. We are all doing many, many different things, like you said, and we don't want to pass judgment, but there are agencies out there that offer national master aesthetics certifications. If we all agree that there's one that we like, can we bring that to you as a group, whether it's through our insurance company or whatever it is? Because it's time and money, and that's hard. Yeah. But if we can unite and 300 of us say, okay, we're going to take this national certification, we're going to take the webinars, we're going to go to the classes. Now I'm preaching to the choir because we're all here getting our CEUs that aren't real CEUs anyway. But can we then bring that to the board and say, look what we've learned, and here's what we had to do to learn this. Can we carry this over? How do we make that happen? How?
Obviously, if that's what as a collective group, everyone decided to do, then that can happen. I think the one thing we have to be careful of is when you look at like a Sedesco or an ITech or an NCEA, those are great education programs. International Dermal Institute, you've got your UCLA program. There's lots of stuff that's out there for education. The difference with what some like national certified trainers do, for example, or national massage therapists, is those are national organizations that are run by a board, and they're somewhat non-biased. They don't have a product line behind them, or they don't have, they're not owned by one person or operated by one thing. We need to make sure whatever that certification is, that it's an unbiased board type thing versus just iTech or just Sedesco or something that's got its own mission statement and they're making money and it's a for-profit business. Nothing wrong with that, because we all are having for-profit businesses, but yeah, so whatever we choose for curriculum, because we did look at some of those things to try to help speed up the process, but we don't want to require people to get government licensure for something that's for one single line business, if that makes sense. But yeah, anything's possible.
Did we look at Utah and Washington State?
Yes.
Did we take anything from them?
Well, we tried to. Yeah.
Okay. See, it's evolved so much since I saw it last year that I don't know where it went. So
I don't know either, because the last time I saw it, I was like.
Could you talk a little bit about how a bill would be created and who would, what the process is? Because I think most people don't know what the process is. They think that you guys are behind it, and you aren't. So
it's like that after-school special. I'm just a
bill. I know, exactly. And that's what people need to know about. But what goes into making a bill up, and then where does it go from there?
Let's see do we want to get, because there were some general questions that came in about LED, microcurrent, and acne and some stuff. So
All right. Then one of the other things that we wanted to discuss today, and that we've gotten questions about at Face and Body and Skin Inc., was the language in S991, which was the LED statement. It has been updated to make LED use within scope. Is that correct, Board?
Yes.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So our regulation changes, we've been working on updated health and safety regulations for about 2.5 years. Unfortunately, the regulatory process, a little different than the bill process. A bill usually takes a year. Regulations can take a lot longer. But we wanted to make it clear that LED was not an invasive procedure. It was basically, and those regulations are not, they are not in effect yet. They're very close to being filed with the Office of Administrative Law, which is part of the process. However, just so you all know, if an inspector happens to come into your facility and sees an LED machine, they will write it down on their inspection report, but you will not be cited. We are not citing for LED. We think it's perfectly within your scope.
All right. Any questions on that?
Even within Southern California?
Yes.
So there's been a change.
The change happened, there were citations issued probably, we haven't been issuing citations for well over a year.
Data point contrary to that.
Yes.
And in the October meeting, when the new language was approved for adoption, the board said, but because the existing regs still exist, we can't stop enforcing. We just won't collect any fines.
Correct. So an inspector will still note it on their inspection. And that's what's meant by that.
Distinct from a citation?
No, correct. The inspector doesn't issue a citation. So the inspector will come in and give you an inspection report. It's a large sheet that has lots of little circles that they've looked at violations, and then it comes to the office for review. And when an inspector does find something, usually machines, a lot of the esthetician industry is changing so much that usually the inspectors will take a photograph of the machine, because sometimes we cannot determine what that machine is doing. Sometimes we determine that machine is a laser and we're going to cite and refer it to the medical board. So it will be on your inspection report, and it will be noted on the citation. Yes. However, you're not going to get, you're not getting fined for it.
Okay.
And if you keep in mind how long the reg change takes so long, but our industry is moving so fast that sometimes by the time they are able to update something, you get the inspectors trained and everything's going, and then there's something else out there. Every time we show up at a show, there's a new gadget, and we're all like, I have to have the next thing. Well, we're moving so much faster than that these guys can. So a lot of times that's why they take a photo, or they'll call the office. I've been on ride-alongs where they're calling and they're like, okay, it looks like, and they're just trying to figure it out. And there are people doing, and it's not this room, but I've been on some ride-alongs where there are people doing crazy things, you guys. Buttocks enhancements. I mean, you can't even, it's like beyond what you can imagine. So when you're, as estheticians that are here getting a day of education, you're concerned about your scope of practice, and I'm sure everyone in this room is doing what you're supposed to be doing. But there's some crazy stuff out of there, so that's why it's not necessarily changing the regs, but making sure that the regulations read LED the way it should be read, and it's clearly defined so that the inspectors know what they're looking for. Also, estheticians that are new in school and out there really know what they can and can't do. And also as a resource when you're at shows like this, because there are things for sale tomorrow and Monday. There are things for sale you can't use. So it's not illegal to sell it. It's potentially outside your scope of practice to use it. So trying to, not only defining the regulation isn't just about citation, it's also making sure that estheticians know what they can and can't do. And the best rule of thumb that you can, if you are removing living tissue, if you're affecting the dermal layer of the skin, if it's moving because of a muscle contraction, if it's bruising, if it's swelling, if you've done something to leave a mark, you probably weren't supposed to do that. That's the best. So anytime someone's selling you something that's, you know, like, oh, it takes that little skin tag off right away, you're like,
Okay.
it's still leaving a mark.
So to bring this full circle, I think this latest episode started with a notice on your Facebook page saying, we just need to remind everybody that LED is outside our scope per the current regulations. If the board's position now is it's within the scope, could there be a similar sort of notification?
Oh, absolutely there will be.
Okay, well, when will that happen?
It'll happen as soon as the regulations are formal. And unfortunately, in state government, it goes to a whole different office from our board. The regulations right now are in a waiting period for a 15-day notice. They then go to the Department of Consumer Affairs legal review. Our health and safety regulations have to be approved by the Department of Public Health, which luckily they have given us their blessing already. So that cut out some time, but then they have to go to the Office of Administrative Law, who has, once they receive them, has 30 days to turn it around. So we're still looking at a couple of months before that notice is made.
Okay, but you had just said that people would not be cited and that the board believed that LED was in the scope of the license.
Correct.
So can't you at least say that?
Well, we can't say what's not written in our law right now.
Okay, well, so that really brings us back to everybody's potentially open to be cited, because that's what the current regulation is.
I was cited 2 days ago.
Oops.
An inspector told me, unless you have a written form of information, she will still cite me.
It would depend on what you were cited for.
Right.
Actually, I was cited on May, and I pulled my machine out of my room to storage. And one of my friends who was cited on 2013, and she went to see board hearing on last month, end of July. She put away her machine for a whole year. She went there for appeal hearing, and Joseph Federico, he told her, "You're cleared," before she even said a word. LED is cleared, anything to say, and you can start using it tomorrow. So she told me, LED is cleared. So I pulled my machine out, and she came back for reinspection 2 days ago, and I got cited again.
So you got an inspection report
Yeah.
from the inspector.
And the first one, I got it on May. I got $1,000 fine.
So I'd be happy to look into it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like somebody thinks that machine is doing something other than LED.
Well, she knew it was LED.
But
information
again,
sheet.
the inspector does not issue the citation. It comes into our office and we research it. So we'd be happy to look into it specifically for you, but we are under the impression that that machine is doing something other than LED.
Even if the machine does all kinds of things and you're like, ooh, but I'm not using that feature, I'm only using this feature, you can't have
Nothing but the LED.
it's just LED.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
Then it sounds like it was a mistake. And we will
Well,
certainly.
she said
we'll-
LED is a medical
Let
practice.
us have your information and we'll certainly check into it when we get back into the office.
Okay.
But again, it's definitely, I mean, all I can tell you that all inspections that have an LED machine come to my desk. Every single one of them.